It's funny how some buildings can hold both your best and worst memories. Standing in the lobby of Harrison Industries headquarters, I felt the weight of both. 25 years of being the family disappointment and 5 years of secretly becoming their worst nightmare. I'm Elizabeth Harrison, but my family barely acknowledges our shared last name anymore. To them, I'm just the daughter who couldn't hack it in the family business, who walked away to play entrepreneur instead of accepting my place in their corporate hierarchy. If they only knew that I now own Phoenix Global, the company about to acquire their failing empire. The security guard glanced at my visitor badge with thinly veiled disdain. The executive meeting is in the main boardroom. Kitchen's down the hall past the elevators. I nodded, suppressing a smile. 5 years ago, that dismissal would have stung. Now it was almost amusing. Thank you, I know the way. I did know the way. Both to the kitchen where they expected me to wait, and to the boardroom where tomorrow's acquisition papers would be signed. Papers that would put me in control of everything. Beth. My brother Andrew's voice carried down the marble hallway. What are you doing here? I turned to face him, kicking in his perfectly tailored suit and gold Rolex. The uniform of Harrison's success. Dad invited me to the meeting. His laugh was sharp, practiced. The board meeting? Come on, Beth. This is serious business. We're discussing the Phoenix Global offer. And what do you think about their offer? I kept my voice neutral, remembering the mountain of evidence I collected about Harrison Industries' financial mismanagement, most of it bearing Andrew's signature. They're vultures, he sneered, trying to steal our company for pennies on the dollar. But don't worry your pretty little head about it. The kitchen is where you belong. Successful people only in the boardroom. If he only knew that Vulture Company had spent the past 3 years systematically acquiring Harrison's debt, buying out their major clients and positioning itself for this exact moment. Beth. Our father's voice boomed from the boardroom doorway. William Harrison, CEO of Harrison Industries, looked exactly as I remembered. Commanding presence, silver hair, and eyes that could freeze hell. You came. You asked me to, I said simply. He checked his gold watch, identical to Andrew's, a family tradition for male executives. The meeting's about to start. Why don't you wait in the kitchen? Margaret can bring you coffee. I thought about the past 5 years, building Phoenix Global in secret, orchestrating deals that made Harrison Industries look like a corner store, all while letting them believe I was barely scraping by with a small consulting business. I had just opened my mouth to respond when Harrison Industries CFO, David Chen, hurried down the hallway clutching a stack of papers. His face was pale, stressed. Mr. Harrison, he called out. We need to discuss these numbers before the meeting. The projections. Not now, David. My father's tone was sharp. We have more important matters to discuss. The Phoenix offer is an insult, Andrew interrupted. We're worth 10 times what they're offering. I had to bite my tongue. I knew exactly what Harrison Industries was worth. I'd spent years analyzing every detail, every weakness, every skeleton in their corporate closet. The kitchen, Beth, my father reminded me firmly. This isn't your concern. I walked toward the kitchen, their voices fading behind me. 5 years ago, this dismissal would have broken my heart. Now it was just the calm before the storm. The kitchen was exactly as I remembered. All stainless steel and granite, rarely used since executives ordered in for every meal. Margaret, the office manager who'd worked here since I was a child, looked up in surprise. Beth, is that really you? I smiled, embracing her warmly. She had been one of the few people who showed me kindness after I left the family business. Hello, Margaret. Still keeping this place running? She sighed, glancing toward the boardroom. Trying to. Things aren't good, though they never admit it. Your brother, she lowered her voice. His decisions haven't all been wise. I knew exactly which decision she meant. The failed expansion into South America. The disastrous merger with Tech Solutions. The string of discrimination lawsuits that had been quietly settled. All documented in Phoenix Global's due diligence report. I heard about the Phoenix offer, Margaret continued, pouring me coffee. Between us, we need it. The company's bleeding money, no matter what your father says. Is that why Dad invited me today? To witness their triumph over another takeover attempt? Margaret's expression turned knowing. Actually, he didn't invite you. David did. Said it was important you be here. That was interesting. David Chen had been Harrison Industries CFO for 15 years. He was also the only person who knew the true extent of the company's financial troubles. My phone buzzed. A message from my assistant at Phoenix. All board votes confirmed. Contracts prepare for tomorrow. I smiled, remembering Andrew's smirk. Successful people only in the boardroom. Well, tomorrow they'd learn what real success looked like. Through the kitchen door, I could hear the board meeting starting. My father's voice carried clearly, still a commanding presence, still convinced he could control everything. As you know, we've received a hostile takeover bid from Phoenix Global. While the price might seem attractive to some, Harrison Industries doesn't need saving. We've weathered storms before. Andrew's voice chimed in. Exactly. This company was built by Harrisons, and it will stay in Harrison hands. Their confidence would have been admirable if it wasn't so misplaced. They had no idea that their company had been hemorrhaging money for years, that their major clients were already contracted with Phoenix, that tomorrow's vote was a mere formality. The kitchen door swung open, and David slipped in, looking harried. He froze when he saw me, then quickly closed the door behind him. Miss Harrison, he said quietly, or should I say, Miss Phoenix? I set down my coffee cup. How long have you known? He smiled tiredly. I've tracked Phoenix Global's acquisitions for years. The pattern, the strategy, it all had your fingerprints. When I saw the offer, I knew. Does anyone else know? No, but they will tomorrow, won't they? I leaned against the counter. They left me no choice, David. Andrew's running this company into the ground, and Dad's too proud to stop him. He nodded. I know, that's why I made sure you were here today. They need to see, they need to understand what they've lost. Through the door, Andrew's voice rose excitedly. In fact, I've just closed a deal that will show Phoenix exactly who they're dealing with. The Jensen merger. I winced. The Jensen merger. A desperate attempt to save the company that would have bankrupted Harrison Industries if Phoenix hadn't already arranged to block it. David checked his watch. The CFO of Phoenix should be calling any minute to discuss Jensen. Right on cue, my phone rang. I answered, putting it on speaker. Go ahead, Marcus. Ms. Phoenix, the Jensen contracts have been terminated as arranged. Would you like me to inform Harrison Industries now or wait until tomorrow's board meeting? David's eyes widened at my title. Even he hadn't known I was CEO. Now is fine, I said loud enough to carry through the door. They should know exactly who they're dealing with. The kitchen door burst open. Andrew stood there, face twisted with rage. What did you just say? Who are you talking to? I stood up slowly, smoothing my simple dress. Marcus, please hold. I believe I'll deliver this news in person. Walking past my stunned brother, I entered the boardroom where my father and the board members sat in frozen silence. For the first time in 5 years, I took my place at the head of the table. The Jensen merger is dead, I announced calmly, just like every other desperate attempt to save this company will be. Unless, of course, you accept Phoenix's offer. My father's face had turned ashen. What are you talking about? How do you know about Jensen? I smiled, thinking of all the times they'd sent me to the kitchen, dismissed my ideas, treated me as less than nothing. Because Dad, I'm the CEO of Phoenix Global. And tomorrow, one way or another, this company will be mine. The boardroom fell silent as my words echoed off the mahogany walls. 20 faces stared at me, expressions ranging from shock to horror to dawning comprehension. My father's hands gripped the arms of his chair so tightly his knuckles had turned white. Andrew had stumbled back against the wall, his earlier arrogance evaporating like morning dew. Marcus, I spoke into the phone, still on speaker. Send in the transition team. Right away, Miss Phoenix. My father found his voice first. This is impossible. Phoenix Global is worth billions. You're just... Just what, Dad? I met his gaze steadily. Just the daughter you sent to the kitchen? Just the failure who walked away from the family business? The boardroom doors opened and my team walked in, senior executives from Phoenix, legal counsel, financial analysts. All people who had worked with me for years, who knew exactly who I was and what I was capable of. Ladies and gentlemen, I addressed the board. You have less than 24 hours to accept Phoenix's offer. If you refuse, we'll proceed with our alternative strategy. Andrew let out a strangled laugh. Alternative strategy? What alternative strategy? I nodded to my CFO, who distributed folders to each board member. Over the past 3 years, Phoenix Global has systematically acquired controlling interests in your major clients' companies. We've also purchased a significant portion of your debt. If you reject our offer, we'll simply redirect the business elsewhere. The board members flipped through the documents, their faces growing paler with each page. They were seeing the truth. How thoroughly I had outmaneuvered them, how completely I controlled their fate. This is blackmail. Andrew shouted, finding his courage again. You can't just walk in here and... Actually, I can, and I have. I pulled out another folder. Would you like to discuss the Jensen merger, brother? Or perhaps we should talk about the discrimination lawsuits you thought you buried? He sank into the nearest chair, the blood draining from his face. My father stood slowly, his authority crumbling before my eyes. Why, Beth? If you wanted to come back. Come back? I cut him off. To what? Another lecture about knowing my place? Another reminder that real business is for the men in a family? I gestured to my team. I built something better. Something you never thought I could do. David, still standing by the door, cleared his throat. The company's finances, they're worse than anyone here knows. Without this merger. Shut up, Andrew snapped. We don't need their money. Actually, I said quietly, you do. Your last 3 quarters have shown significant losses. The Jensen merger would have bankrupted you. Your stock price is about to plummet when the market opens tomorrow. I paused. Unless, of course, you announce your merger with Phoenix Global. One of the board members, an elderly man who had known me since childhood, spoke up. The terms of the acquisition, they're fair? I nodded. More than fair. Phoenix will absorb all debt, protect all jobs except senior management, and maintain the Harrison name on subsidiary projects. I met my father's eyes. I'm not here to destroy what you built. I'm here to save it from those who never understood its true value. The room erupted in whisper conversations. Board members huddled over documents, analyzing numbers they should have questioned years ago. My father stood frozen, watching his empire slip through his fingers. Andrew, desperate now, tried one last play. The shareholders won't allow this. The Harrison name means nothing without results, I finished. Check your phones, everyone. The Asian markets just opened. News of the Jensen merger failure should be hitting any moment. As if on cue, phones begin buzzing around the room. The color drained from faces as board members saw their stock price beginning its predicted dive. Time's up, I announced. You have 2 choices. Accept Phoenix's offer now, before the US markets open, or watch this company collapse by closing bell. The board chairman cleared his throat. I move we vote immediately on the Phoenix acquisition offer. Seconded, came several voices at once. My father held up his hand. Wait. Just wait. He turned to me, and for the first time in my life, I saw something new in his eyes, respect, tinged with fear. All this time you were planning this? No, Dad. I was building something successful. Something meaningful. The fact that it led here. I shrugged. That's just business. The vote was quick and unanimous. Even Andrew, seeing the writing on the wall, raised his hand in favor. Within an hour, papers were signed, press releases drafted, and Harrison Industries officially became a subsidiary of Phoenix Global. As the board members filed out, many stopping to shake my hand with newfound deference, Margaret appeared at the door. Her eyes were bright with pride. I knew you were meant for more than the kitchen, she whispered, hugging me tight. Andrew was the last to leave, his swagger replaced by a defeated shuffle. At the door, he paused. Was any of it real? Your struggling entrepreneur act. Every great CEO knows the value of market research, I replied. I learned exactly how this company was being run by watching from the kitchen. Only my father remained standing at the window that overlooked the city skyline. What happens now? Now, I joined him at the window. Now we rebuild. Make this company what it should have been. One that values merit over gender, innovation over tradition. And us, your family? I thought about all the family dinners where my ideas were dismissed, all the meetings I was barred from, all the times I was told to know my place. You'll always be my father, I said finally. But this? I gestured to the boardroom. This is business. And in business, I stopped being just your daughter a long time ago. He nodded slowly, understanding at last. When did you become this? I always was this, Dad. You just never bothered to look past your own expectations to see it. The next few months transformed Harrison Industries. Under Phoenix's leadership, toxic management was cleared out, innovative projects were given priority, and the company's value steadily climbed. Andrew found himself working under a female VP half his age, learning what real business acumen looked like. My father retired, though we both knew it wasn't really his choice. He sent me message after message, trying to rebuild our relationship now that he understood my true capabilities. But some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt with simple apologies. 1 year later, I stood in my office at Phoenix's headquarters, looking out over the sea. My assistant entered with the morning reports. Your brother's here to see you, she said quietly, says it's important. I smiled, remembering his words from that day. The kitchen is where you belong. Successful people only in the boardroom. Tell him he can wait in the kitchen, I replied. I'm busy running a successful company. Success isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. Sometimes you have to leave the table where you're not welcome to build your own empire. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't taking over the family business. It's making them realize they never really knew what business was at all. Walking back to my desk, I passed the wall of photos in my office. Unlike the sterile corporate portraits that had lined Harrison Industries halls, these showed real achievements, groundbreaking ceremonies, charity initiatives, the faces of employees whose lives we changed. Success built on merit, not manipulation. My phone buzzed. Another message from my father. The door will always be open for you to come home. I thought about their boardroom door, which had been closed to me for so many years. The one that only opened when they realized who I had become. Only opened when they realized who I had become. I typed a simple response. I am home. In the boardroom where I belong. Then I turned back to my work. I had an empire to run, and this time, no one would ever send me to the kitchen again. Because in the end, true success isn't about where they tell you to sit. It's about where you choose to stand. And I chose to stand at the head of the table, signing the checks that remind them exactly who I've become. As for the kitchen, I still visit sometimes. Not because anyone sends me there, but because that's where I learned my most valuable business lesson. The people at the top don't always see what's really going on. But if you're willing to start at the bottom, learn every detail, and work harder than anyone else, one day, you might just find yourself signing their checks.